Hi there everybody, I'm going to give you top 10 practical driving test faults that happen on the driving test and how you can fix them. So observations at junctions is the first fault that crops up, and it's always in the top 10. And one of the biggest faults people do is they don't kind of anticipate things, they don't scan things. So when you're driving towards a junction, rather than just looking straight in front of you like you've got blinkers on, practice scanning from right to left as you're approaching things, because as you get closer and closer, then pillars that are in front of you on your side of the car are going to become obstacles for you. So practice scanning things in advance, anticipate what's that person doing at that side of the road. Any vulnerable road users, watch out for things like that. Park cars near junctions, always assume the worst is going to happen. And if you do that, your junctions will improve, because as you approach things, if it's dangerous, you're thinking, oh, that's a look dodgy there, I'm going to start slowing down and just double check things, make sure it's safe. And remember, the right, left, right is the minimum. Good luck. The second one then is mirrors change of direction, and I talk about this one because this crops up in the DVSA top 10 at the same time, and it's being aware of what's around you 360 degrees, not just what's in front of you and what's on your side mirrors, but what's around you, checking your blind spots. So as you're changing direction, obviously if you're going to go left, centre mirror left, and if you're changing lanes, have a little look across to your left. If you're going to slow down, check your mirrors, what's behind you all the time. Don't kind of assume that car behind you is staying behind you. So be aware of, they might go round you, so you're checking your right mirror, things like that. Just be aware of it. And the amount of people who change direction and then they check their mirrors afterwards. Check before you do anything. So if you're going to change your direction, you're checking your mirrors. If you're going to slow down, you're checking your mirrors. So check them mirrors regular before you do anything. Number 3 is poor control steering, and if steering crops up on your driving test, then you've got no chance of passing your driving test. So your steering's got to be pretty good. The push and pull method is the method that I ask people to learn, and the way I teach them. There's a video at the top if you want to learn that method, if you're not too sure what it is. And it's a control of that steering wheel, because if you're not controlling that steering wheel going around left turns, right turns, going around parked vehicles or obstacles, then you're going to pick up faults. So the push and pull method is the preferred method. It's not the essential one, but it makes it a lot easier when you're driving. So there's a little bit of leeway. If you're not using that method, it's not the end of the world. But if you're losing control of that steering, letting the car go wide or going too close to the curb on the turns, then it's probably the steering that fault at that point. The fourth one is turning right at junctions, and lots of people get anxious about it. So the routine that you want to be doing to fix this is your mirrors, signal, position, speed and look on the approach to the junction. So if you're going to go right, centre right, if you're going to go left, centre left. And the emerging right one is obviously checking mirrors, get yourself next to the white line next to your right side of the lane. As you approach it, you're slowing down, you're checking to your right and left. If it's clear, you go in. If it's not clear, you got to wait. Simple as that. And people waiting, they get anxious about having to wait because they think they're going to fail the driving test for waiting. If you can't go, you can't go. So you've got to wait until it's safe. And continually checking to your right and left for looking for that gap. Looking at the traffic, the speed. Don't just stare to one side, because you look at that side, but you're not looking what's happening on your left side or vice versa. So you need to be aware of what's happening on both sides of the right and left of you. And when you do pull out, you've got enough time to get out safely, so you're not affecting the traffic coming towards you. So if you can do that right, safely, then you're fine. The fifth one then is failing to respond to traffic signs. Now, you've all passed your theory at this point, but what you don't want to do is let your knowledge of traffic signs suddenly start dropping and you're forgetting what they mean, because otherwise, when you're driving along, you're not going to respond to what the signs try to tell you. So be aware of what the signs mean. If you think you're getting rushed at them, pull out your theory book, pull out your know your road signs book, and know what the signs mean, because if you know what the signs mean, you're going to react better to it and you'll respond in the right way. Number 6 then is sloppy reverse parking, and when you learn to drive you're practicing every week to get to the point where it's pretty good and you're happy with it. Now on the driving test that should stay the same, you shouldn't have to rush. The idea is you take your time with the manoeuvre, you do good mirror checks, you do good blind spot checks, you're not being afraid to give way if things approach you, because that's the thing. You don't feel like you've got to just keep doing this manoeuvre because the examiner's watching you. If someone's approaching, whether it be a pedestrian, a vehicle, electric scooter, you've got to start thinking about giving way to them, because if you're doing a reverse into a parking bay or a reverse round a car into parallel parking, then you're probably going to be in the way at that point. So don't be afraid when they get close to you to give way, take your time and good observations, and if it's going wrong, don't also be afraid to correct the faults. Don't leave it wrong. Failing to move off safely is number 7, and it's an easy one really, but on the driving test people tend to rush. So when you're outside a road and the exam says off you go when it's safe to do so, all I want you to do is get yourself into gear, make sure it's safe by looking round, doing your 5-point check, starting with your left side, left mirror, centre mirror, right shoulder, and if it's not safe, wait. Simple as that. But the amount of people who they do the right mirror check and they're off like a rocket and they've not checked the blind spot. So take your time, have a good look. If it's safe, fantastic. If there's cars coming towards you, you might require a signal so everyone knows what you want to pull off. But if a car's behind you, you're not going to move off here. You're going to let them go past. If they're right up the road, 100 metres, then you can get going. Poor positioning when driving, and what this covers here is driving in your lane. Simple as that. And I know it sounds like an easy one to fix, but the amount of people who wander from left to right when they're driving along the road, so you've got to concentrate, keep yourself in the middle of the lane. You might have to adjust your position if the road narrows. So don't start saying I'll keep 1 metre from that middle or 1 metre from the curb, because the position might adjust if the road narrows or it widens. And when you're on the left bends or the right bends, keep in your middle lane, because that's when it starts to go wrong. When, especially on the left bends where you've got a nice wide sweeping left bend, or the car will start coming towards the left curb. You might even skim the curb. That's going to pick up your fault, isn't it? So keep in the middle of that lane and you'll be fine. So number 9 is failing to move off under control. And what it is you're in first gear and not have enough power on or not have enough clutch on to move off safely, and you'll either judder and stall or roll backwards or kangaroo forwards. So keeping it under control, and the only way to get good at it is practice it in different types of roads, like on a hill, downhill, flat road, in a busy road. Practice it going round cars, moving off. Get good at controlling that clutch, get good at moving off with enough power on, and remember that every time you want to move off, you're in first gear. Number 10, the final one, is responding to traffic lights, and it's an easy one that can be sorted by just keeping an eye on what's happening in front of you. So if you're approaching traffic lights that's on red, right, there's a good chance that it's going to change to green, isn't it? It's not going to stay on red forever. So as you're slowing down for the red lights, keep an eye on them. You don't have to look at your gears, you know what your gears are at that point, but as you're slowing down, think about the gears that you're in. So if you're slowing down in third gear, think about second gear and maybe going to first gear, and as you're stopping, keep an eye on them. Get your handbrake on if you use your handbrake, but keep an eye on the lights, because otherwise you're going to stop thinking that they're going to be changing in the next 10 seconds and they've already changed as you stopped. So be ready for that. And it's the same when you approach a traffic light that's on green. Don't assume they're going to stay on green. If they're on green for a while, do not start speeding up, because the chances are they're going to change to red. So keep an eye on the lights ahead of you and be ready for that change. If you've enjoyed the video, by the way, give it a thumbs up and watch out for my next video next week.